Since the late 1990s, the financial practices of the United States government, and especially its largest department, the Department of Defense, have faced growing scrutiny. At the heart of this scrutiny is a staggering figure: $21 trillion in so-called unaccounted adjustments identified between 1998 and 2015. This figure, which represents accounting discrepancies rather than cash physically lost or stolen, reveals fundamental weaknesses in how the government tracks, manages, and reports its spending. To understand this situation, it's essential to explore how such massive accounting errors can occur, why the Pentagon has failed 5 consecutive audits, and what this means for the country's finances and the public trust. The Department of Defense, or the Pentagon, is the world's largest employer and oversees one of the most complex organizations on Earth. Its budget is massive, more than $800 billion annually in recent years. The Pentagon's financial operations are spread across numerous branches, sub-agencies, and contractors, all tracking everything from payroll to procurement, weapons systems to overseas operations. Each year, this sprawling apparatus generates millions of transactions, creating an immense challenge for any accounting system to manage. In 1990, Congress passed the Chief Financial Officers Act, requiring all federal agencies to produce auditable financial statements. This was a response to decades of reports about waste, fraud, and inefficiencies. Yet for years, the Pentagon lagged behind. It wasn't until 2018 that the Department of Defense even attempted its first department-wide audit. When it did, the results were sobering. The Pentagon failed, and it has continued to fail every year since, 5 audits in a row. But how do unaccounted adjustments, totaling $21 trillion, enter the picture? In accounting, adjustments are normal, used to correct errors, reconcile differences between accounts, or reflect updated information. However, when normal adjustments balloon into the trillions, it signals a deeper problem. Between 1998 and 2015, the Pentagon's financial statements included $21 trillion in such adjustments, numbers flagged by government watchdogs as lacking sufficient documentation or explanation. To put this in perspective, the entire U.S. federal budget in a single year is less than $6 trillion. The $21 trillion figure does not mean the Pentagon had $21 trillion physical money that disappeared, but rather that the same dollars were adjusted and readjusted multiple times across different accounts and years. These adjustments often occurred because accountants at the Department of Defense could not reconcile their books. Sometimes they made enormous plug entries to force the numbers to balance. In some cases, the Army, Navy, and Air Force each reported tens or hundreds of billions in adjustments in a single year, without adequate supporting evidence. These issues are not limited to simple clerical errors. Congressional investigations and audits have found that the Pentagon's financial systems are often outdated, fragmented, and incompatible, some dating back to the 1970s. The systems used by different branches often cannot talk to each other. This makes it nearly impossible to track spending accurately across the entire department. For example, an item purchased by one branch might be double counted or not counted at all in another branch's books. Further compounding the problem is the Pentagon's reliance on outside contractors. Many critical functions, from logistics to IT, are handled by private companies, creating even more layers of complexity and potential for miscommunication. Sometimes contractors submit invoices with errors or insufficient details, making it harder for auditors to verify what was bought, for how much, and whether it was ever delivered or used as intended. These accounting failures have real-world consequences. When financial statements are unreliable, it becomes difficult for Congress and the public to know exactly how tax dollars are being spent. Are weapons systems running over budget? Are there duplicate payments for the same services? Is money being wasted on outdated or unnecessary programs? Without clear, accurate records, these questions are impossible to answer definitively. The Government Accountability Office, GAO, has repeatedly warned about the risks of poor financial management. In its annual reports, the GAO has listed the Department of Defense's financial practices as a high-risk area for waste, fraud, and abuse. The lack of reliable financial data makes it harder to prevent or detect wrongdoing, whether it's small-scale fraud by individual employees or large-scale overbilling by contractors. The issue is not just about waste. It also affects the military's readiness and effectiveness. When leaders don't have accurate financial information, they can't make informed decisions about allocating resources, maintaining equipment, or planning for future operations. In times of crisis, the inability to quickly and confidently identify available assets can put national security at risk. The Pentagon's repeated audit failures highlight just how difficult reform can be. Each year, thousands of auditors sift through hundreds of thousands of transactions. They find progress in some areas, such as improved asset tracking at certain bases, but systemic problems remain. The Department of Defense has acknowledged the need for better systems and has invested billions in new software and training. Yet, progress is slow. The sheer size and complexity of the organization mean that even small improvements take years to implement. Why has this problem persisted for so long? Part of the answer lies in institutional inertia. The Pentagon's culture is focused on operations and readiness, not accounting. For decades, accurate financial statements were not a priority. Leadership turnover, competing demands, and a lack of political urgency have all played a role. There are also built-in incentives to maintain the status quo. With so much money flowing through so many hands, transparency can be uncomfortable for those who benefit from the current system. Public awareness of the issue has grown, especially as the national debt rises and debates over government spending intensify. Lawmakers from both parties have called for greater accountability and regular progress reports. Some have proposed tying the Pentagon's budget increases to improvements in financial management. Watchdog groups and investigative journalists continue to highlight the scale of the problem and the need for reform. Despite the daunting numbers, there are reasons for hope. The very fact that audits are now happening and that their findings are public marks a significant step forward. In the past, these issues were hidden from view. Now there is growing pressure for change. New generations of leaders, both civilian and military, are taking the problem seriously, recognizing that financial stewardship is essential to national defense. Ultimately, the story of the Pentagon's $21 trillion in unaccounted adjustments is a cautionary tale about the risks of unchecked bureaucracy, outdated systems, and lack of oversight. It serves as a reminder that even the most powerful institutions must be vigilant in managing public resources. As efforts to modernize and reform continue, the hope is that future audits will finally bring the Pentagon's books into balance and restore public confidence in how the nation's defense dollars are spent.